Welcome to Arts and Music, and I am your host, Victor Janflone. Today, I'm very pleased to bring you Slim Manicotti. Welcome, Slim Manicotti, to the show.
Slim Manicotti. Oh, it's crazy how I got that name.
Yeah.
Thank you for welcoming me. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, I'm grateful that you came on, man. Seriously, I'm so glad you're here. And I'm a fan also.
Well, that's wonderful.
Yeah. I mean, I've been listening to your videos. I didn't know you had so many videos on YouTube of your songs, which I haven't paid for yet. But I've been listening to them a lot. Even like the one where you're doing like the Sinatra stuff and.
Oh yeah, the Young at Heart CD.
Yeah, it's wonderful, man. It's wonderful stuff. It really is. It's just such a diverse way that you're doing your music.
I do the Slim Man stuff, which is kind of that laid back jazz, pop, soul, vocal thing. And I do the Frank Sinatra stuff. I do like a couple shows a year with a 17-piece big band. And I do all those Rat Pack songs. And that's a blast. Playing with a 17-piece band is really great, but it's so different from the Slim Man band, because when you're playing when I'm doing a Slim Man show, doing my songs, singing my own original compositions, I can tell the sax player to take a solo, and I can tell the guitar player to take a break or whatever. I can conduct as we go along, so I can throw out solos when I see them. I'm kind of like a quarterback that comes up to the line and he's, oh, okay, let's do this song, let's do that arrangement, let's do it slower, let's do it faster. However, when you're playing in a big band with 17 pieces, you cannot mess up. You know what I mean? Because they're reading paper, they're counting measures. They're going measure 32, measure 49. So you can't improvise. You have to follow what's on the music. And the other thing that's it's a challenge for me is that I have to memorize everything. They're able to do 22, 25 songs, reading them off of paper, and some of these charts are 5-6 pages long. Mm-hmm. I have to memorize them because I can't be on the stage going, okay, measure 49 sax solo. You know what I mean? I have to memorize everything. So I do two different things, and each one of them it's all music, but they're very different in approach and in terms of execution as well.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing. And you've been doing this Rat Pack show at the Riviera. Is that right?
Yeah, I did it. I've done it a couple of times. I've done it down in San Diego. I've done it up in Northern California. The last show was this past March of 2019 at the Riviera Hotel, which is this old hotel from the 60s. I think it was built in 63 or 64. And it had just gone through last year a renovation where they spent like $1 billion or 600 million, whatever it was. They made it look exactly like it did when it was built. So you walk in there and everything's brand new, but it all looks old. And the ballroom where I did the Rat Pack show is the same ballroom, the same stage where Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin and Sammy Davis Jr., they used to do Rat Pack shows there at the Riviera Ballroom. And I did that this past March with the Paul McDonald Big Band, 17 pieces. And it was exciting not only to be on the stage, the same stage as Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, and Sammy Davis Jr., where they actually played, but Paul McDonald, the band leader, he has all the original charts from Nelson Riddle, from Quincy Jones, Count Basie, all the original charts that Frank Sinatra used for his famous Capitol recordings when he did all that swing stuff. So it was kind of neat to be in the same place, using the same actual musical charts that Frank Sinatra had used. And I'm telling you, it was a blast. It's difficult to kind of translate the impact of a 17-piece big band playing with 5 saxes and 4 trombones and 4 trumpets and shit's just blaring and blazing. It's hard to translate that unless you're actually there live. And it was a blast. And we're doing it again March 29th, Sunday, out here in Palm Springs at the Annenberg Theater, which is part of the Palm Springs Museum. And it is a beautifully acoustically perfect venue with a 9-foot Steinway Grand. And so we're going to do it all again this year, 2020.
In the early days before you were Slim, back with being in Baltimore, you grew up in Baltimore, right?
Yes, I grew up in Baltimore, Maryland. Yes, I did. That was my home. That's still, I consider it my hometown.
5 years old, you went to a movie and you saw Louis Armstrong, and then that spurred you to play trumpet. So trumpet was your first instrument?
Yes, it was. My dad took me to see a movie when I was a kid, 5, 6 years old, and it was a movie that starred Louis Armstrong and Danny Kaye. It was called The Five Pennies, and when I saw Louis Armstrong sing and play, I'm telling you, I was floored as a 5 or 6 year old. And I told my dad, I said, that's what I want to do. And I asked him for a trumpet for Christmas. And like months later, Christmas came along and he gave me a plastic trumpet, you know, one of those little toys. And I remember I put it down and I said, I don't want a toy. I want a real trumpet. So for my birthday, which is right after Christmas, he rented me a trumpet. And I played for years. I mean, I really wanted to. Louis Armstrong still remains a hero of mine, inspiration. Just love his voice, his approach, his joy, his humanity. I mean, there was just, you watch him and you just can't help but feel good, feel this smile in your heart when you watch Louis Armstrong sing and play. There's just a joy that, I don't know, it just struck me as a kid, and it stayed with me to this day.
So after that, you progressed to another instrument, though. Did you play it for like 9 years? It said, and then.
Yeah, about 8, 9 years. I was playing trumpet, and you know, there was a guitar around the house, so I would, you know, strum chords on that. There was also an upright piano that was in the house that we bought that they couldn't get out of the house, so they just left it there in the dining room. So I researched that and kind of taught myself how to play. So I was playing other instruments as well. And then I started picking up the bass when I was a young teenager. I was playing in a band called Mama Max, and it was like 2 guitar players and a drummer. And then I went to see Jimi Hendrix. He came to Baltimore, and I snuck backstage.
You actually got to see Jimi Hendrix play?
Yeah, a couple times.
Wow.
And I snuck backstage, and I hid behind the curtain, and a band named Cactus opened up, and they were really good. And so I was watching from the wings, and as I'm watching Cactus on stage at the Civic Center in Baltimore, Maryland, I feel this tap on my shoulder, and it's Jimi Hendrix. He goes, wow, that guitar player is really good. And he's standing right next to me, and my best friend's on the other side of the stage looking at me going like, Hendrix. So Hendrix and I stood shoulder to shoulder for like, I don't know, 20 minutes. Then he went off, and then Cactus left the stage. Hendrix came on and played, and that just had a huge impact on me. And that's when I decided to put down the guitar and pick up the bass guitar, because it was, you know, a lot less strings and not quite as much, you know. But that's, you know, and so I took up the bass guitar, and that remains my main instrument when I sing in the Slimman band. I play the bass and I sing at the same time.
After Baltimore, I guess you went to Nashville?
Yeah, I mean, I was in Baltimore, between Baltimore and New York for most of my young adult life, teenage life. My dad lived in New York, my mom lived in Baltimore, so I was up and down I-95. And then I guess about maybe 10 years ago or so, I moved to Nashville, Tennessee from Baltimore, maybe 10, 12 years ago. And I spent 3 or 4 years in Nashville, which at the time was going through this transition from being like a country music town to hipster heaven. All of a sudden,
yeah, it's changed a lot.
This influx of hipsters. I mean, if you go there now, it's like Brooklyn South. It's just changed so much. And so I was there for 3-4 years, right when the whole change was happening. And I loved it. I love Nashville. It's one of my favorite United States towns. It really is. Wonderful people. And I just got a great vibe. And then I had a couple gigs out here in Palm Springs, just about 5-6 years ago. And I came out here and stayed for a couple of months. It was January, February, March, about maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And the weather was just so beautiful. I mean, it was like 70 every day, and palm trees and fresh fruit and lemons and oranges. I was like, this is not a bad place to be. So I started hanging out here, and then there are so many places to play out in California, and it's year round. You know, wineries, festivals, clubs. There's people seem to go out a lot more out here on the West Coast, just because I think it's a weather thing. You know, back east, you know, a lot of summertime gigs, you know, the festival gigs happen during this. Wineries have stuff like that. But out here, it's kind of year round. And I don't know. I like California. I do. And so I stayed out here. And, you know, my niece lived in Phoenix, which is just a couple hours away from Palm Springs. And that had a big impact on my decision to stay here, because she was a huge part of my life. And so it wasn't such a huge transition. I mean, I did come out here by myself, but I did have my niece that was just a couple of hours away, and I spent a lot of time there in Phoenix and Scottsdale.
Mm-hmm. When did you get your contract with Motown?
Oh, that was when I was a kid. I mean, I had just finished doing some recordings in Baltimore, and a friend of mine had a friend of a friend had got an appointment in Manhattan with a big publisher, and I went up there in my white John Travolta suit with the 3-piece thing and a hairdo you could bounce rocks off of, and I went up to Manhattan to this meeting with this big publisher, and it just went horrible. I mean, it was just as bad as it could have gone. I was all ready to pop the champagne, and here we go, and you know. It just went really poorly, and I went out into the streets, and I was just determined not to go back to Baltimore without having something under my belt. So I started calling publishers, and the first publisher I could think of was Motown, because I always admired those songwriters, Holland Dozier Holland, Smokey Robinson, Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye, just an incredible catalog of music. So I called up the New York office of Motown, and I asked if I could come over. And she's like, well, sure, make an appointment. I'm like, well, I'm here right now. And I explained her my situation, that I was heading back to Baltimore in a couple of hours. Could you just take a minute? So I went over to the office, and on the way it started raining. I got splashed with mud by a cab, and all over my white suit. So I walk into her office, splattered with mud. Well, not splattered, but you know, it didn't look very good. So then I played her my songs, and she was listening. And as she was listening, her door popped open, and guy stuck his head in and goes, "Who's that?" And she's like, "Over there, Mr. White Suit, poop in his pants guy over there." And so he motioned to his office. I played him the songs, and he liked it. I mean, he liked it a lot and signed me to a contract. I had to deliver 2 songs a month, and they paid me $1,000 a month. Wow. And that was my first job.
You did some writing for Motown also too, right?
One of the first songs I wrote for Motown was recorded by a jazz singer named Angela Bofill.
Yes.
And it was one of the first ERP, which later went on to be probably one of the top 3 jazz record companies of all time. And this CD was like a spearhead for that record company. And because of the success of Angela Bofill, Motown offered me a recording contract. And I recorded a whole album from Motown. I spent a whole year on it. And then there was a regime change at Motown, and all the guys and gals that signed me that were part of my team were let go and replaced by new people. And those new people put all the projects that were ready to be released on the shelf. And it remains to this day. It was never released.
Yeah. But that was still a nice step for you in a career, and I guess it happened younger for you.
Yeah, I always wanted to be a songwriter. I really never wanted to be a performer. I always wanted to kind of stay behind the scenes. I was a painfully shy kid, and I thought, wow, if you could write songs, you don't have to go out there and perform and sing them. You could just give them to somebody else and let them do them, and that's the appeal. That was the appeal for me. I wanted to be a songwriter, and to this day, walking into a room, writing a song, and going into a room with nothing, coming out with something is still one of the biggest joys of my life. I mean, the songwriting thing is what I really like. And that's what I wanted to do. And to come out of the bat and to get paid to write songs, it was just great. It was wonderful.
Which was first, the music or cooking?
Music. Music was first. I learned to cook out of necessity, pretty much. I mean, I'd always been in the kitchen. My grandmother, Angela, cooked. She wasn't a great cook. She had like 5 or 6 dishes that she did really well. Traditional meat sauce and meatballs and, chicken stews and things like that. My dad cooked. He wasn't a great cook. He was a good cook. My uncle cooked. He was a great cook. My mom cooked. She was a great cook. So I was around cooking all my life. But it wasn't until I kind of went out on my own as a young teenager, and you're in a band house and you've got $6 between you, and you're like, what do we eat? And you go, well, we're gonna buy a pound of pasta, some garlic, some oil, some vegetables, and just kind of throwing things together in that way. So it was out of necessity that I first started cooking, and then it just evolved into something where I began to get creative with my recipes, just like I do with writing a song. You come up with an inspiration of what you go to a restaurant and you taste a dish and like, yeah, it's good, but if they only did this, and you go home and you do that thing, it's very similar to songwriting, and I take the same approach as well. Cooking is all about balance and making sure you don't have too many things that are green or too many things that are, it's all about balance. Just like music, you have to have that balance. And I got started cooking later. The music came first. I mean, I wasn't cooking when I was 6 years old.
Do you have a favorite recipe?
The basic Italian tomato sauce is just wonderful. It's kind of the basis for so many of the dishes, especially the Italian American dishes that people make. Eggplant parmesan and lasagnas, and just the basic Italian tomato sauce is good. It's vegan. It's vegetarian. Anybody can, kind of make it and use it over pasta or rice or whatever you want to do. That's probably my favorite go-to dish. It's my favorite thing to eat before a show. Like 3 hours before I sing, I love to have a dish of pasta with tomato sauce. Always been my favorite. But I also love, I don't eat a lot of meat, but I love meatballs. I love making meatballs. And I do the traditional meatballs, which is, veal, pork, and beef. And I do Italian turkey sausage meatballs, which are really, really good, which is basically what I cook these days rather than the traditional, because you have people over these days and this one doesn't eat this one doesn't eat that, then I'll eat this. So I tend to make the hot Italian turkey sausage meatballs over the traditional meatballs with beef, veal, and pork.
That's nice, man. That's nice. You published a cookbook, though, right?
Yeah, almost killed me. Slimman Cooks. It's a collection of 52 recipes. Most of them are my creation. I took family recipes and added my slimness. And I took some traditional Italian recipes and made them kind of slim.
Mhm.
And then 52 recipes, and there's 52 stories that before each recipe, there's a little story. I'll tell a story about my dad and then talk about his pesto sauce that he came up with. So 52 recipes, 52 stories, and there's also QR codes. It's an actual physical book. There are QR codes that you can scan with your phone, and it takes you to a video of me instructing you how to, like a little short minute, couple minute video of me showing you how to cook that dish. So it's kind of like, and it also comes with a CD, so, but they're out of print. But I'm working on a new one.
Yeah, I was going to ask you where it can be found, where people could buy it.
It's not available. I'm going to come out with it on a USB drive in a PDF format. But lots of people, they're not buying books these days. They're doing things in a different way. They're reading ebooks. So I'll probably get the original Slimman Cooks Cookbook converted into an ebook and have it available as a PDF for people. But the original cookbook, which was released in 2016. It's substantial. It weighs like 3 pounds, and it's all photograph paper. It's like it's beautiful. The photographs look great, and it's a hardcover, laminated, so you can drop a meatball on it and wipe it off, and it doesn't stain. It's what I mean. I'm really proud, as you can probably tell, but it's substantial. So mailing it, storing it, and the other thing is, people get their books.
Making them is expensive as a book anymore. Yeah.
People tend to get their books in a different way these days. Their audio books are big, e-books are big. Same way with the music. People aren't buying, CDs. I mean, I wish they would. I mean, I thought CDs were great. I still buy books. I do. I like holding something in my hand, but that's just the way that I am. It's not really it's just a personal preference. It's not like, oh, I don't want to embrace the technology. I'm fairly well advanced as far as that kind of stuff goes. I just like holding stuff. I like getting a CD and holding it in my hand and looking at the artwork. I like getting a book and, feeling the pages. I like carrying something around. I mean, so, with the cookbook that I released in 2016, Mad Cooks, I'll come out with it as an ebook. And I might reprint like 1,000 copies in the future sometime down the line.
So, Slim,
yeah.
I see in your hand a CD, right? And it's great, man. And I want one. I'm going to get one. I'm getting one.
Yeah, the story of this CD, last October, 2018, I was asked to do a residency at a nightclub out here, this really cool listening club called Vicky's. It's a club that's centered around a 9-foot grand piano. There are no TVs there. It's all in a semicircle. It's a listening room. And I put together this band, 6-piece band, and we started playing every Wednesday night for 3.5 hours. Same guys, same band, every week, 3.5 hours. And we played for October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, like 8 months. And after about 6-7 months, there was some real magic happening on stage. Like guys were kind of anticipating other people's moves. Little licks were being picked up, accents, things where a band gets really, really tight in terms of feeding off of one another, knowing when to play, knowing when not to play, knowing when to do a harmony, knowing when to lay out. There was some real magic starting to happen on stage. And so I decided to do a recording on the very last night of our stay at this club, Vicky's, out here in Palm Springs. So we went and we recorded every song we knew, 4 hours and 18 minutes. We would have gone longer, except Vicky's turned on the lights because it was getting too late. So we recorded for 4 hours and 18 minutes. We did a combination of Slimman songs, Slimman original songs. We did some bona fide songs. I have a band, Bona Fide, that does instrumental music. And we did some cover songs, everything from Amy Winehouse, Valerie, to Lowrider by War, to Peter Gunn by Henry Mancini. So we had this combination of songs that really, like, once again, fit real well together. And I sequenced the songs in that live show the same way that I sequenced this CD. In other words, what you hear is the same order that we played them that night, because I wanted to sequence the song in that live performance that night, June 5th, 2019. I wanted to sequence them so there was an introduction song, a song that introduced you, and then the second song was me introducing myself. And then the way the songs would sequence, I wanted to have a sax solo in this part, a guitar part in that section. So I wanted to balance the songs out in terms of vocals, instrumentals, fast songs, slow songs. So I put together that set list, and this is the result of that. What you hear on this Slimman double CD, it's got 2 CDs, 28 songs, is the way that we played them that night. And there was a reason for that. I tried to sequence them as a total concept before we even recorded the CDs. In other words, we didn't go into the studio and say, okay, let's put this song number 2, let's put that song number 15. We did the songs the same order in which we played them that night. And this comes out on January 16th, 2020. It's available on the website right now, slimman.com, but it's not going to be available on, iTunes and Pandora and Spotify and Amazon Music until January 2020. I did a USB card. It's the size of a business card, and it's got the front cover on the front, the back cover, and then what you can do is you can pop out the USB, and you can to your computer and download it or plug it into your car and play it. And it's got all 28 songs and the CD artwork and a lot of photos and everything on it. But it's it's a USB card that has everything. It has MP3s and WAV files of all 28 songs, plus the artwork, plus a lot of extra photos and stuff. And this is really cool. I can send you one of these as well.
Yeah.
It's really a great way to listen to music. You can just drag and drop the files off of here onto iTunes and listen that way. You can listen directly from this onto your computer or your car or whatever device you have. So it's cool, and it comes in a sexy black velvet carrying case.
Well, hey, man, it is a Slimman product. It has to. You did your Vicky CD release party.
Yeah, that was last week out here. We did it at Vicky's. And with all the same guys, the same band. And I got to give some acknowledgement to the band. I mean, Chase Huna on sax is amazing. Enrique Hernandez on percussion, he's great. The drummer Craig Chestnut is amazing. The guitar player Nick Sosa is amazing. The Tatane Katindig, the Filipino man, the thriller from Manila, he plays the grand piano. And there's nothing like a real piano. I mean, it lends an elegance to this music that is just, I don't know, just a wonderful flavor in the mix.
You also have a release party in Annapolis? Is it this week?
I'm having a release party on the East Coast at the Ram's Head Tavern in Annapolis, Maryland. And I'm doing another one in on the West Coast on January the 16th in San Juan Capistrano, California. And January 16th is the actual date when it's going to be released worldwide.
Is the Coach House still there in San Juan Capistrano?
I think it is. I played there a long time ago.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Your show here, though, you're using different, and not here, but in the East Coast where I am, in Annapolis. That's the Ram's Head. Was it Ram's Head Live or something, or on stage?
Ram's Head on stage. And
yeah. What musicians are you using for this?
These guys, I mean, I am really grateful to have 2 incredible bands. The band on the West Coast is very different in style. The band on the East Coast, it's George Hazelrig on piano, who's, I don't toss the G word out a lot, but the guy's a genius on the piano. He is just amazing. To watch him play, it'll blow your mind. no exaggeration. He's great. George Hazelrig on piano. Kevin Levi, the saxophone player, he's got a vocabulary on his sax that I don't know. His phrasing, his vocabulary is just amazing. It's deep and it's wide. And he plays notes that other guys don't play. He plays rhythms that other people don't play. The drummer, Johnny Cole, he makes his own drums by hand. He's a craftsman, and he's an incredible drummer with just this feel that, I don't know, he's just got this feel that you can just, I don't know, you feel like you could just sit on it or something. And I've got on bongos, Hitman Howie Z, and he plays bongos. He'll play bongos with one hand and then shaker with another hand, and he's got these foot pedals on his feet, like, so he'll play cowbell or a wood block with two different foot pedals. So he's like this like rhythm machine. And I love playing with these guys. I can't wait. I really can. And they are extraordinary. I mean, I'm going to give myself a little bit of credit because I have put together two wonderful, excellent bands. But they are the ones, they're the stars of this show. They really are. They're excellent musicians, and they listen, and they have heart and soul and great discretion as to what to play and when not to play, and to give music breath. You know, so many musicians, they just want to go out there and show off and like exercise in front of everyone. These guys are playing notes. These guys are playing like melodies they hear in their heads. It's a different approach to an instrument rather than playing scales and just, you know, doing the things that most musicians do. These guys are listening. They're creating performances out of their solos as opposed to running up and down scales and just doing things by pattern. Does that make sense?
It does to me. Yes.
It does to me. To no one else, but it does to me.
You're my sunny day, kicking back cozy as the radio plays. It's playing our favorite song, singing along, sitting on the dock of the bay. Can you move just a little bit closer? We can watch the sun go down. Can you stay just a little bit longer? Stay until the stars come out to play. You're my sunny day. You're a summer breeze, chases all the clouds away. You're my sunny day. All my rainy days have gone away. Some kind of deja vu seems like a dream whenever I'm here with you. The very first time we kissed, I said to myself, heaven must be like this. Every day it's a little bit stronger, feeling I can't deny. And I know I can't wait any longer to tell you how I feel inside. You're my sunny day. You're a summer breeze that chases all clouds away. You're my sunny day. You're a summer breeze that chases all clouds away. You're my bright sunny day. My rainy days have gone away. You are my sunny day. Can you move just a little bit closer? Sunny day, sunny day. Can you stay just a little bit longer? You're my sunny day. Kicking back cozy as the radio plays.
Did you sing for the Pope?
People ask me that a lot. Yes, I sang for the Pope, but when you say you sang for the Pope, people get the idea that you like walked into his bedroom and played guitar as he went to sleep singing lullabies. It wasn't like that. It was in
Serenading
1990.
the Pope.
Right. The full story is I sang for Pope John Paul II at the Vatican on Christmas Day. I was in a choir that sang for the Pope. He had, I sang a piece of music called Magnificat that was written by Beppe Cantarelli, who is a songwriter, and he also writes religious music, but he had songs written, he's written songs for Mariah Carey, and he wrote this piece of music called Magnificat. And it's one of my it is my favorite piece of choral music ever. Really, it is beautiful. I mean, heartbreakingly, wonderfully done and written and composed. And so we did this song with a full symphony orchestra and a full choir for the Pope on Christmas Day. And it was glorious. I'm telling you, it was so, you should look it up. Beppe, B-E-P-P-E, Cantarelli, Magnificat. It is wonderful. I mean, absolutely amazing. And so, yes, I did sing for the Pope, but it wasn't like, you know, in his bedroom serenading lullabies as he went to sleep. I was in a choir. I didn't actually, you know, give him a high five after the show and wear his hat or anything. I was part of a choir that sang for him.
Mm-hmm.
Pope John Paul II.
Mm-hmm. Are you a romanticist?
You know, I tend to look on the romantic side of life. I think it's just a way of looking at life. I mean, you know, the first song that I wrote for Slimman, the big hit was "Faith in Us." It's all about love, and you know, and it's always been my philosophy. It is all about love, and so in that sense, you know, we're all here because of a moment of love, even just 6 minutes of love.
Right.
We're all here because somebody loved somebody, and to me, that's romantic. Life to me in general is kind of romantic. I look at the world in a way that, wow, I'm continually amazed and in love with this planet and this world and people in general. And in that way, yes, I am romantic, and yeah, yes, I am.
Do you have a favorite charity?
Yes, I do. I volunteered at a hospital called Mount Washington Pediatric Hospital in Baltimore. It was during the crack cocaine crisis. And in Baltimore, a lot of infants were being born addicted to crack, addicted to drugs, fetal alcohol syndrome. There was this epidemic. And what I did at Mount Washington Pediatric Hospital, I volunteered, and I would go to the hospital and I would cuddle infants, newborn babies, newborn. When I say newborn, even preemies, like, you know, the size of a hot dog in a bun. And these kids were born under the absolute worst conditions you could imagine. And what I would do is I would cuddle them, because there were so many of these infants at this hospital that the nurses would usually be in charge of cuddling an infant that had been abandoned or born addicted to crack or thrown into a hot tub of water or fetal alcohol syndrome. And the nurses needed to do things like administer medicine, things that only they could do. So what I would do is I would volunteer to hold the kids, because infants need to feel a human body. They need to feel that touch. And I would hold infants to console them, and so that they would have a human being holding them. And I did this for years, 8 years. And I continue to be involved with that hospital, pediatric hospital. And I do them all the time. Yes, that is my favorite charity, Mount Washington Pediatric Hospital. That was my involvement, was starting off as a volunteer. And now I continue to support them in a financial way. You know, I gave money to proceeds from the book, from the cookbook, the first cookbook, to them. Yes, it's my favorite charity.
So I know you're working on a screenplay for 2020, yes?
Yes. Yes, I am. I love to create. I do. I like to write stories. I like to write songs. I like to write recipes. And some of the stories are like stories about me and my family growing up. Those are the ones that I include in the cookbook. And I also like to write fictional stories, but most of them based around the music business. Like, what if? You know, what if in the music business, if this had happened, what would then happen in the music business? Or if somebody was so desperate that, you know, so broke and whatever in a creative field, what would they do in order to get their creations looked at, heard, seen? So I've written a screenplay, and it's with music, and it'll be out in 2020.
And what is it? Is it Marlboro Men or something like that?
Marlboro Man is the one that is completed, that's done. There's music. It's about it's based on when I was involved in the country music talent contest. We went around the United States looking for the next big music star, and we went to every honky tonk all around the country. When I say honky tonk, this isn't like glamorous hipster like dive bars. These are truly honky tonks, like backwoods places where it was rough. You know what I mean? It wasn't anything really glamorous or enchanting or elegant about these places. These were honky tonks, backwoods. And we tried to discover, me and my friend, black guy, African American, white guy, Italian, white guy, African American, going around the country to all these backwoods places with, I mean, rednecks, and, you know, it was honky tonking. And the story, the Marlboro Man is based on those encounters, because it was strange. Us going into a honky tonk, me being like East Coast Italian white guy, and then a black guy from Harlem went into these honky tonks, and it was all white people. I'm not, you know, and it was horrible. You know, I made wonderful friends, and we discovered some really cool talent. When we were in Tulsa, Oklahoma, at a place called the Tulsa City Limits, we found a guy who went on to win the national finals, and then hooked up with Kix Brooks. It was Ronnie Dunn at Foreign Brooks and Dunn. Mm-hmm. So that was our big discovery while we were out there trying to find the next big country music star. But it was an experience that I'll never forget. And I fictionalized it and wrote a screenplay called Marlboro Man. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that this year, 2020.
So a couple more questions, and I'm going to wrap it up. What lies ahead in 2020?
This comes out January 16th. I'll be pumping this CD up all year long. Slim Man live at Vicky's.
Can you put it closer to the camera real quick? Yeah, that's good. Nice.
Double CD. And so I'll be pumping this up all year long. That's, I really like this stuff. I wouldn't put it out if I really didn't feel strongly about it, and I wanted to try and find the largest audience possible. And I'm not ashamed of that. I'm proud of it. So that's my number one concern. The other thing is I want to do the Slim Man Cooks Volume 2, the cookbook, which is not just a cookbook. It's recipes, stories, music, and videos. So that's an undertaking. I want to do that. I want to do some new music with Slim Man and my other band, Bonafide, which is instrumental music. I want to continue to write and create new music for both of those bands. Mm-hmm. That's pretty much it. I want to do the screenplay and get it out there and get it finished and polished and shiny.
Yeah. And then where can new Slim Man fans find you on the internet?
Slimman.com is the website. It's a cool website. It's got a lot of great stuff on there. It's got videos and bios and music and all kinds of, I write a newsletter every week. It's kind of funny. I put that up there. There's an archive of all the newsletters. The Slimman.com is a great place. On Instagram and YouTube and Facebook, it's Slim Manicotti, not Slim Man. When I first went on Facebook 100 years ago, when it first came out, Slim Man was already taken, and I wasn't really thinking. I said, okay, well, Slim Manicotti. I wasn't thinking that would be like Facebook would become as big as it did. And so now I got the name Slim Manicotti, and people are like, what? So it's Slim Manicotti on social media, and slimman.com.
Well, I guess that is it's easier to say Slim Manicotti than your real name.
Yeah, it's Timoteo Camponeschi, which is, and that's that's my real long, real Italian name. But then the reason why I came up with Slim Man was when I was going out with the Country Music Talent Contest, and I would come out and I would introduce myself in these honky tonks in the backwoods of Lexington, Kentucky. I would come out and say my real Italian name, and
You'd be like, "Arr."
It was like a frost over the whole crowd. They were like, "Hey, get a rope, get it." Because it was. I didn't look like. I wasn't a cowboy. I didn't come out in a hat and boots and say, "Hi, y'all." I'm like, I am who I am, and I came out and I would tell my real long, real Italian name, and you could just tell people were like. And then the next night, the very first night I did that, and then the next night I'm like, I need a nickname, so I came up with Slim. And I thought that, Slim, I don't really look like a Slim, and a lot of country music guys are named Slim, so it's like Slim Chance. Slim Chance was the first iteration of Slim. Because Slim Chance is a good name for a talent contest, and especially a country music talent contest,
Mm-hmm.
Slim. And so I come up, and so I came out and I said, my name is Slim Chance. It got a little bit of yucks. And the name kind of stuck, and then the Chance got dropped, and the man, like, people just go, "Hey, Slim Man." And it just kind of, that's the way it evolved from Slim Chance to Slim Man to Slim Manicotti. It's very confusing. I'm confused myself, so.
No, that's great, man. Hey, I want to thank you so much for being on the show. I got to edit, do that kind of stuff, work the magic more, and then I'll get it out, and I'll let you see it first, if you want.
Yeah, this is wonderful. You do a great job. It's really been fun. I enjoyed myself.
No, I'm glad, man, because I really screwed it up earlier, didn't I?
No, not at all.
I should know it's 3 hours, right? I told you 1 o'clock originally, and I'm like, that's 4 hours.
Yeah. The other thing is in California, people get up early out here.
Mm-hmm.
You go to school and they get up early. I think because, if you're doing business on the East Coast, I mean, it's 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, it's 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock here. And I've also explained it in football terms to my football friends. Go Ravens. Like the first game in football on the National Football League on Sunday, it starts here at 10 a.m. 10 a.m. You know what I mean? So people just tend to start the day a little bit earlier out here. So I was up already.
No, that's good. That's good. And once again, thank you so much, and I really appreciate it, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for watching Arts and Music, and if you'd like to be a guest on the show, please email us at artsandmusicpgh@yahoo.com. And until next time, peace.
Can it get any better than this? Can it get any better than this? In your eyes, there's a look in your eyes that I can't describe what it does to me. There's a way that you move in the night, soothes my soul, what it does to me.